Well, hi, everybody. This is Dear Mama Sal. Welcome to our Sunday evening broadcast. And for those of you who are joining us for the first time, a big welcome to you. And I'm glad that you're here. By the way, if you click the little bell that you'll see below here, you're going to get advised of any upcoming broadcasts that I'm doing, just so that you know that. And if you follow me on Facebook at Dear Mama Sal or on Twitter at Dear Mama Sal, you will get regular updates from me in terms of news and views about people and what's going on. Hi there, Linda. Good to see you here. Also, if you're new to the broadcast, yeah, about my hair today. And if you're new to the broadcast, then know that in the notes below, for those of you watching on the replay, it's going to say from 00 to such and such a time, news, views, and updates. And then it's also going to say from this time onwards, the subject of the day. And the topic of today will be, we do soul work Sundays. Hi, Kerry, good to see you. And I want to actually spend a little bit of time today talking about the passing of George H.W. Bush, because I think a truly great man. And I think he has some memories that we all need to just acknowledge and share. So hi, Jody, good to see you. And Kerry, here we go. For those of you who don't know, it's Pat's birthday today. And so a very big happy birthday to Pat. Hi, Trina, good to see you. And, you know, Pat has been a member of the Dear Mama Sal group for just about as long as I've been broadcasting. So I'm really very happy about that. Please forgive all the stuff that you see behind me. I'm obviously in the process of putting out my Christmas decorations, and it makes a mess. And I just realized that I still have it there. You love the tree. I'm glad that you like it. It's not quite finished yet, but it's getting there. And by the way, it's half a tree. You know, it's a tree that literally only has the front half of it, so you can push it against a wall. And it took me a long time to find it. But now that I found it probably about 5-10 years ago, and it is just my favorite thing because it doesn't take up a whole lot of room. You know, at most it takes up maybe 3 feet from the wall out. So you don't have to find a huge space for it. But I'm very glad that you like it. It came pre-lit, which for me is a good thing, you know. So, you know, it's like, yeah, maybe I should be pre-lit as well. Jenny, if you know what I mean, it's just like, yeah, right. But the joke was, for those of you who didn't hear about it, the joke was that I tried to find the box with the decorations in it. And some of you will have remembered me saying that I need to bring out all my Christmas boxes this year and go through them so that I can completely downsize them. Well, you know, God must have heard me on that one. Because guess what? It took me 9 boxes of marked Christmas to find the box that had these decorations in them. And by the way, it was the last box. And I literally rolled my eyes and went, very funny. But you heard my prayer, and I appreciate that. The other thing was, I can't remember what it was I was looking for, that we were all going to pray to St. Anthony that I found it. Can anybody remember what it was? Anyway, the other thing that I lost that St. Anthony found for me was my dongle. Now, for those of you who think that might be a rude thing, it isn't. It's a little adapter thing that you put in your phone or your tablet or whatever, where you can use I think the Series 2 connectors into a Series 3. Oh, my C, thank you very much, Jody. You know, thank goodness your 2 half brain cells are working. Yes, I did find my gizmo for my CPAP cleaning. Now, for those of you who don't know, a CPAP is something that you wear at night, and it forces air into you so that you continue to breathe. It's quite a good thing to have if, like me, you stop breathing during the night, which I do. So, you know, what it does is when I stop breathing, it forces air down the back of my throat so that I continue to breathe, which I'm pretty certain you're all, you know, fairly pleased about. Jody also is dramatic in that way. She also stops breathing. So, yeah, and I've got, cleaning this whole apparatus, the mask that goes over your face and everything else, all those sort of things. They really take a lot of time and effort. And I found this one that cleans with ions. That's CO3 as opposed to, no, not CO3, O3 as opposed to O2. O2 is regular oxygen, right? And what's O1? Okay, so Linda is saying that she has her first mammogram coming up. All right, what do you need to, do you want to know what our input to you is on that one, Linda? Right, Kerry, I've literally have got a new mantra that I'm saying, and maybe it will help you. If it's emotional, it's about me. All right, it's not about anybody else. If it's emotional, it's about me. And if you can keep saying that to yourself, you will take a lot more responsibility for your own emotional stuff, and you will also get over it, I believe, quicker. And that's what I've been doing. And I was talking to Marnie about it yesterday. I had lunch with Marnie, and she said, wow, that is so simple. Why didn't I think of that? And I said, well, because it took me a lifetime to work it out. All right. So now then, Linda, let me tell you my experience of having mammograms. I don't know what boob size you are, but just so that you know, they're going to squash them. And it's going to be an uncomfortable feeling because you won't have had it before. And you will probably think that, they're going to pop, but they're not. And really, that's all that I would have to say. It's, it's not a fun experience, but it's not painful. It's uncomfortable. What else can I say about this? It's over very quickly, doesn't take very long. And being scared about the results is a waste of energy. And I've got to say that because why be scared beforehand? Now, the other thing you need to know about, they could well ask you to come back for a second hit. In other words, when they look at the X-ray, they'll see something that they don't like the look of necessarily. Not that it's anything major, but it's just a shadow they don't like or something. So they'll ask you to come back. Happens to me a lot. And when I go back for the second one, touching wood, I've never had to do anything more than that. In other words, they confirmed that whatever it was that they thought they saw wasn't an issue. So if you get called back for a second one, please, please, please do not think that you've got major problems. You only have major problems if they tell you that. All right, you need a hug and talk it out with Mike. Yes, Kerry, so that's a really good thing if you can talk it out with somebody. That is always a good thing, obviously. I would like to suggest that be careful that you don't use Mike as your therapist. Do you know what I mean? It's a really interesting point. Although, if he's happy playing that part, I've always said to people, be very careful who you use as your therapist, because I don't think that the spouses in our lives, that should be their job. It's that puts too big a burden on them. And so that's just a thought. So try and sort it out with your friends and with yourself where you can. This would be my recommendation. Right. So I'm very proud of you, Linda, for doing it. It's one of those things. I'm going for a CAT scan, Linda. So should I be worried? No, I shouldn't be worried unless they find something. Then I'll worry, right? So I keep saying, I'm going to a CAT scan to find out how healthy I am. Because until I hear otherwise, that's the truth. So, all right, now Jody, of course, has done the usual thing. She did a bit of explanation for us. The main difference between oxygen O and diatomic oxygen O2 is diatomic oxygen is in a stable form. And you'll forgive me, Jody, but at the time of the nativity, it being in a stable form amuses me. Forgive me. All right, so talking about that, let's do a quick check because, I should not have done what I just did. Never mind, I did it. Here we go. Let's do some quick countdowns for you because I know that some of you enjoy this part. I was going to say, Kerry, if there's anything in particular that you want to talk about, just type it up and we can talk about it, all right? I'm just not clairvoyant. And, you know, it's like, I don't need perhaps to ask 20 questions. You can just tell us what's going on, then we can help you. If you don't wish to tell us what's going on, then we totally understand. That's your right. All right, so here we go. We have got, just so that you know, 11 days. Wow, only 11 days until December. We have got 22 days until Christmas and 107 days until spring. For those of us who live in the Northern Hemisphere, for those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, you've got 107 days before autumn. So let's just, that December one is worrying me for some reason. That's coming a bit faster than I thought. I've got less than 2 weeks to be ready for that one. So, however, I'd like to give a big round of applause to Jody again, because Jody actually has been, writing my packing list for me for some reason. Bless her cotton socks. Isn't that kind of her? I think she's concerned I'm going to forget things, which I probably will. All right. So, and it's the 23rd is Linda's birthday. I think, Jody, can we put another reminder? Because I can't remember if I updated the website. And I would like to double check that I did that. All right. So happy birthday to Pat. That's the one thing that I definitely know is happening. Anybody else know of a birthday today or an anniversary or something that we need to acknowledge? Please let me know. And I didn't see another comment from Kerry. So, it's on the 24th. Oh, it's 23 days to your birthday. Got it. Yours is on the 24th. Okay, got it. No problem at all. Question. No, statement. I actually heard from the Brit, for those of you who know the Brit. He contacted me. I'm not quite sure why, but he did. And I've managed to, it's difficult to get the information from him, but he seemed to be fine. And I asked how his love life was going, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of you want to know about that. And that seems to be going on, and she may come and visit next year. Nothing really, I can't remember anything particularly new that he was saying. So, but it was nice that he contacted me, and I, let him know that I would be updating everybody on what I had heard from him. So we also heard from Lizzie on Friday, for those of you who weren't here. And bless her heart, she's hanging in there as well. She's had a difficult time. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody has heard from Paul or anybody else. Jody, what's the update on Leah? I seem to remember hearing that she had some issues going on, and then I didn't hear anything else. So I just wonder if we've got any updates on that. If we've got it, just let us know, because there are a lot of people here that, yeah. So Kerry, totally understand. For those of you who are on the replay, Kerry just asked that we discuss this privately after the broadcast, which we will do after I have finished cooking dinner. Good. Linda's saying that Paul is good. He's okay. All right, that's good to hear. All right, so we do mourn the passing of George H.W. Bush. I don't know about the rest of you, but he struck me always as a man with great principles. And I think the thing I valued most about him, and that's a personal thing, and I'm sure you've all got your own thing about him, but I always felt that he had that rare quality of being able to laugh at himself. You know what I mean? And that they always say that you know that you have humor when you can laugh at yourself. And so many people can't. And what I loved about him was that he could. I also love stories that that I hear, things that he did while he was in the he passed yesterday at 94. And his last words, funny enough, or strangely enough, were to George W., where he said, I love you. And I think that's wonderful. Yes, you know something, Kerry, thank you for adding that he lost his daughter, Robin, I believe was her name. At a very early age, she was only 4, lost her daughter to leukemia, his daughter to leukemia. I don't know if any of you have seen it, but one cartoonist put up just the most soulful cartoon. It really, was brilliant. And it had Barbara Bush and Robin up on a cloud, and George just flying in on a biplane, and them saying, "We've been waiting for you." And, I just thought that was so cute. The only thing that I would have added if I had thought to do that would be a couple of dogs, because I think they were really, really close to their dogs. Yeah. So there's that part of me that's really happy that he's with Barbara again, because I really do believe that there was an incredible love affair for the whole of their life. And, who amongst us wouldn't wish that? I just think it was an incredible relationship that they had. And, the pictures of her, because even when he was, president, he would go off, and she would literally be sitting on the steps of the White House waiting for him to come home. Had no shame about that, would sit on the steps and just wait for him to come home. And I just think there's a lot to be said there. But what I wanted to talk about was the way that they treated the staff in the White House. They used to have horseshoe competitions. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's where you huck a horseshoe towards a stake in the ground, and whoever gets their horseshoe around the stake, is the winner. And apparently they used to regularly have horseshoe competitions against all the staff in the White House. I heard that the operator of the elevator in the White House died. And hi, Alice, good to see you. And I hear that he went to go and comfort the family. And in the meantime, he was due to be doing something very official. And, the story that I heard was they're literally banging on the door and they're going, "Mr. President, you need to come. You're going to be late. You need to come now." And he said, "I am doing something more important. Let them wait." And I thought, wow, I would say the word that I use about him would be humanity. He really did want us to have a kinder, gentler life. And so I really did want to spend a bit of time today just talking through some of his quotes, if you will allow me to do that. Now, he had some good ones and some not so good ones, necessarily, depending on where you sit. So I'm not talking politically here so much. I thought you'd love his humanity. Okay. So Jodi's saying that her in-laws met them several times at the Walmart. My mother-in-law had an involved conversation with Mrs. Bush about Roma tomatoes. I found it so normal of them. Yes, I to be at Walmart. Yes, I believe that they didn't take themselves too seriously. They didn't allow their children to take themselves too seriously either. I thought one of the quotes that you all might enjoy And Jody, I guess we should officially call this about 10 minutes ago for time. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. So that would be about 15, let's say 15 minutes. This quote, I think, was so typically of him, where he said, old guys can still do fun things. And I think that's something for us all to remember, not to let our age stop us doing fun things. And as you know, he skydived on his 80th, 85th, and 90th birthdays, if I'm correct. He went skydiving on his 80th, 85th, and then again on his 90th. Now, I can imagine what Mrs. Bush was saying to him, but I also believe that she loved him enough to know if he was going to go doing that, he would be happy, and therefore probably just let him do that. Alice, any update, by the way, while you're here on your pain situation? And I thought this was really an interesting, I'm not sure what year he said this in, but he said the day will come, and it's not far off, when the legacy of Lincoln will finally be fulfilled at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, when a Black man or woman will sit in the Oval Office. And when that day comes, the most remarkable thing about it will be how naturally it occurs. And, he was right. In his lifetime, he got to see that happen. And I like the balance. He said, history will point out some things I did wrong and some things I did right. I love the balance of that. He was smart enough to know he was never going to get it all right by any matter of means. Now, this one is funny enough, one of my favorites from him, and I hope it makes you chuckle, because he really did have an incredibly good sense of humor, in my view. He said, I do not like broccoli. I have not liked it since I was a kid, and my mother made me eat it. I am president of the United States, and I'm not going to eat any more broccoli. And I thought, isn't that beautiful? How many of you, can imagine him saying that, I've made it to the big time. Now I don't have to eat broccoli. I don't care who tells me that I have to. I don't have to do it anymore. I thought that was cute as well. And so human. And that's the thing that I heard about them. I also heard you didn't mess with Barbara Bush. I don't know if any of you heard that as well. You didn't mess with that lady. She had a way of making sure you knew where things happened. I wanted to talk a little bit, and Jody, I asked you to remind me about this because of the story because I thought it was relevant to the Bushes. Some of you know I've been downsizing, and it was the most incredible thing. Marnie, who is a very dear friend of mine, Marnie had said to me, I've got a picture box and, I'll keep it, because she had just recently moved. I'll keep it for you. And I said, that's really kind of you. Thank you. Excuse me. And then, things happened. We kept meeting up and we kept forgetting the picture box. And I was there yesterday to visit her. I drove to her, and she said, oh, while you're here, the picture box. And I said, okay, fine. So she went downstairs and brought it up. Now, I want you to imagine the situation. We're standing there talking over the picture box, which wasn't closed. It had an open section to it, so you could see into the box. And we're busy saying our goodbyes over the top of this box. And Marnie glances down, and her eyes go out on stalks, and she leans into the box and pulls out a photograph that meant nothing to me. And the tears started to well up in her eyes and her mother's. And it was a picture of her father that she'd been looking for 20 years. And I said to her, there are no coincidences in my world. And I said, you had to hang on to this box for me because you needed to find this. And if you had hucked this box out along with the other empty boxes, you would have lost the picture. Which twins? Oh, the Bush twins? Okay, so Kerry's saying, I heard the twins ordered peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to be delivered to a bowling alley, and Grandma delivered them. Wow. Yeah. You see, so you imagine if Marnie hadn't kept that box for me, she would never have found that picture that she'd been hunting for. And she just looked at me and said, I can't believe I found this. And I said, well, you were meant to get it. It was meant not to be thrown away. And had you not generously said, you would keep that box for me, hi, Marie, if you hadn't said that and meant it, that, you would have lost that photograph. So, I don't know if any of you believe in this sort of stuff, but I certainly do. I thought this was another great quote of George H.W. He said, America must always reject racial bigotry, anti-Semitism, and hatred of all forms. As we pray for Charlottesville, which was at that time, we are reminded of the fundamental truths recorded by that city's most prominent citizen in the Declaration of Independence. We are all created equal and endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights. We know that these truths to be true everlasting because we have seen the decency and the greatness of our country. And I really believe, hi, Jamie, I really believe that he was the epitome of that. He did believe in the greatness, but in a kind and gentle way. He said, it is much worse to read criticism about your son than it is about yourself. How many of you can believe that? That it's more difficult to hear somebody criticize your children than it is to take criticism about yourself. And I always think about Benji and Judy when I hear those sort of things, because, it is amazing the judgments that people make that are really so hurtful and not based on any truths. And this is another one of his quotes. He said, we don't want an America that is closed to the world. We want a world that is open to America. It's a pity that we don't still believe that, right? And he said, I thought this is really cute. Never ask anyone over 70 how they feel. They will tell you. And so I just wanted, I really did want to share some of quotes from him, because I honestly and truly believe that he was a great man. And if any of you have got any favorite moments, if you can remember back, I know not all of you will necessarily remember back to his time, but he definitely was an unusual president. I think you probably know, he only served one term. And I just reading some more of his quotes here. He says, I just am not one who flamboyantly believes in throwing a lot of words around. And I'm thinking, yeah, there's a difference there, right? Please don't ask me to do that which I've just said I'm not going to do, because you're burning up my time. The meter is running through the sand on you, and I am filibustering. Yes, it's he didn't say a lot, but when he did, you could tell he really meant it. And he said here, I put confidence in the American people, in their ability to sort through what is fair and what is unfair, what is ugly and what is unugly. And then he said, you cannot be president of the United States if you don't have faith. Remember Lincoln going on his knees in times of trial and the Civil War and all that stuff. You can't be. We are blessed. So don't feel sorry don't cry for me, Argentina message. I care. Speaking to employees of insurance companies in the 1992 primary is when he said that. And then how about this one? Yeah, I agree with you, Trina, totally opposite. Hi, Beth. He said, we Bushes cry easily. Let me ask you, what does that tell you about the family? That the patriarch can say that we Bushes, male and female, cry easily. What does that tell you about the family? And then he said, and this is cute, he said, let me give you some serious political advice. One single word, puppies. Apparently that did them a lot of good to have puppies in their life, right? Yes, I think George and Barbara had not only an incredible love affair, but yes, they had a lot of class. Now, I think class is a misused word. I think they were gracious. Let me put it that way. I think they were very gracious people. They were not full of themselves. They knew the responsibility that they had and took it seriously, very seriously. But when you talk to people, I was listening to one broadcaster yesterday. I can't remember who she was, but apparently she'd been sent to go skydiving with him. And she was saying that he said to her, they were up at the summer home, and he said, is your husband with you on this trip? And she said, well, yes, actually, Mr. President, he is. And he said, fine, come over for breakfast tomorrow. And she said, what? And he said, bring him over for breakfast tomorrow. We'll do brunch. And she said, it was like sitting next to your best friend, and when she, the husband went with her, and she said it was the most incredible experience because it was like they were long lost friends. That's how they treated them. And he said he literally hung on every word. He was so present. Think about that. That a man of that stature, will invite a reporter and her husband over to her for brunch. And she said, it was the most normal moment. If it's possible to be normal having brunch with the president, but she said that's literally how she felt about it. And for that, it was a memory of a lifetime. He said, to kind of suddenly try and get my hair colored and dance up and down in a miniskirt or do something, show that you've got a lot of jazz out there and drop a bunch of one-liners. I'm running for president of the United States. I think I'm scintillating. I'm a scintillating kind of fella. In other words, he didn't want to dye his hair. He didn't want to show that he could play the saxophone or do whatever. He just thought he was fine as he was. And that, I think, sums him up in so many ways. So I think we have a lot to remember him for. A lot to remember him for because he and the family have left us a great deal to be very grateful, for which we can be very grateful. And so, rest in peace, President Bush. We are grateful. And it is really important that you understand that we each will go his path. When I say we each will go his path, none of us knows that we will be around longer than the other as we do this. And therefore, what I always say to people is, really live today in a way that is memorable, if you can. If there's any way you can be memorable to one person today, do that. If there's any way you can make one person smile today, do that. If you can make somebody's life easier today, do that too. I also wanted to do a couple of quotes from the Dalai Lama today, because on Soul Sundays, I think there are certain quotes that just go down better than others. And the Dalai Lama said, never give up. No matter what is happening, no matter what is going on around you, never give up. And Kerry, I want to say to you, whatever's going on in your life that you are feeling emotional about, you are a stronger person than most people realize. And in a way, having Mike there, I wonder whether it ends up where you lean on him more than you actually lean on yourself these days. And I ask that because how many of you have found that when you were alone, you trusted yourself a lot better than once you were in relationship? Can any of you talk to that? And another thing that the Dalai Lama said was that through difficult experiences, life sometimes becomes more meaningful. And, wasn't it that Eleanor Roosevelt who said, if you don't know how strong a woman is until she's like a tea bag, until you dip her in hot water, then you find out how strong she is. The Dalai Lama also said, follow the 3 R's: respect for self, respect for others, and responsibility for your actions. And perhaps the most difficult is to respect yourself. Yeah, Kerry, I think the fact that you need to vent is great, and we will look forward to you doing that after the broadcast. Absolutely. That's what that group is there for, is so that you can do that. So great on you. And you've got a team of people who care about you, and that's important. Now, how about this for a quote? If your heart has peace, nothing can disturb you. If your heart has peace, nothing can disturb you. If we take that as a reality, then it is also true, surely, that if we are disturbed, our heart is not at peace. We are blaming somebody or we are frustrated with somebody. That makes sense to me, that the only way we actually can be perfectly still and at peace is if our heart is at peace. We need to let go of all the other stuff. Yes, Kerry, absolutely. Beth says it's still okay to be frustrated. Beth, I think, with all due respect, that it's still okay to be whatever you are. I think for those people who still need to be angry, it's okay still to be angry because you still have anger inside you. I think, yeah, I quite agree. It's still okay to be frustrated. It doesn't change anything. But yes, I think an emotion is an emotion. As long as we understand that if it's emotional, it's about us. It's not about other people. If we get frustrated, it's because we want to control the world. All right, people are not doing it our way. It's a control thing. Beth, if you can see that. And the Dalai Lama also said, the ultimate source of my mental happiness is my peace of mind. Nothing can destroy this except my own anger. Beth is saying, I get stronger after getting frustrated. Do you find that when you can verbalize your frustration, you find it you're grounded better? Do I understand that correctly? And how many of you agree with that? That sometimes you need to vent just so you can ground yourself. You need to let that out into the world. Let it go, because that's exactly. Yes, and Kerry's saying that, right? That she needs to get out the frustration before she combusts internally. Yes. And Beth is saying, I need my frustration to guide my next move. Yeah. But as I'm saying, as long as we can see that our frustration is our frustration, it has to do with our need for things to be different. It makes sense, Beth? We want things to be different. That the only way we can be frustrated is if things are not going our way. I believe I'm correct in that. So, yes, Trina's saying vent and burn it off. Yes, walking and do some sort of exercise, write it out, but don't send it. Yeah, very important stuff. Yes, Beth, well done. Beth says, it's usually just about me, and I have to see it as such. Yes, something, Beth, if you have got to that stage, which I believe you have, then you will realize, as difficult as it is, and I want to tell you, I know how difficult it is, you will realize that getting angry is your stuff, getting frustrated is your stuff. And it is about where you want other people to change. And the only way you find peace is to say, something, I need to work on me. They're not going to change. It's going to continue to happen. I choose to get out of the line of fire, or I choose not to get frustrated with it. But Beth, it's great learning. If you've got that far, that is great, great learning. And, the Dalai Lama also said, just one small positive thought in the morning can change your whole day. And I know some of you totally know that one. And that's why I say that, wasn't it Abe Lincoln that used to put up, he had a book in which he wrote the things that he wanted to improve on. For example, if he knew he got frustrated easily, then he would actually start working on frustration for a few weeks. And literally work on that subject for as long as it took until he'd got some more control over it for himself. And then, he'd take the next characteristic and work on that one. And I thought that was such a clever thing for him to do and for us all to do. Which is like, what if we could concentrate on improving just one thing instead of trying to improve everything? Would your life be a lot happier? And so he also said, if you don't love yourself, you cannot love others. You will not be able to love others. If you have no compassion for yourself, then you are not able of developing compassion for others. We pretend that we have it, but we don't truly have it. I was in a conversation yesterday with Marnie, and she was talking about bigotry, funny enough, and racism. And she, and I looked at her, and I don't know if any of you understand where I was coming from. And I said, I am duly blessed. And she said, why? I said, that you're still my friend. And she said, why? I said, because, I have been bigoted. I have been a racist. I had to unlearn so many things I was taught. And she looked at me and said, but Sal, I said, no, seriously. I am very grateful that you're still my friend, because I wasn't taught what you were taught. And I had to unlearn. I don't know about the rest of you. How many of you grew up being taught to be a bigot or a racist? When you, not necessarily, I mean, I'm certain that my parents would have denied it until they're blue in the face. But the truth was, they were. They'd say on one hand that they totally, accepted gays and yet they'd be telling all gay jokes and thought that was, So, you look at it and you go, I'm very grateful that I do have the friends that I have, considering my experience. Yeah, Trina, and that's it. Compassion for oneself is hard, right? And that's what Marnie was saying to me, gosh, Sal, you are hard on yourself. And I said, no, but it's a truth. And I'm okay with that truth. I mean, I'm not okay with it. I don't like the fact that I was inadvertently racist for many years. It was not my intent. I just didn't understand it. Yeah, Beth saying she as well, but not to anyone in particular, just everyone was evil. And therefore just stay away from everyone. Wow, that must have been such a lonely place for you, Beth. Yes, Kerry's saying the same thing. My dad and all of my grandparents were and are racist and hate everybody different. Yes. And you are the polar opposite. Exactly, Kerry. And that's what I'm saying, is that, I was very fortunate that I came across people who talked to me, and, I realized that even though I didn't realize it, that I had been educated to be racist at some degree. I think when we dislike somebody's religion, it's being racist, right? It's like everybody has their right to their own religion. We might not agree with it, but that's still their right. And so the Dalai Lama said, if you have peace of mind when you meet with problems and difficulties, they won't disturb your inner peace. You'll be able to employ your human intelligence more effectively. But if your mental state is disturbed, full of emotion, it is very difficult to cope with problems, because the mind that is full of emotion is biased, unable to see reality. So whatever you do will be unrealistic and naturally fail. How about that? Anybody need me to read that one again? Yes, Kerry, and how lucky you were, right? And Kerry's saying her mama raised her to respect people regardless of their skin color, religion, orientation, or politics. And, I'm pretty certain that my mama thought she did too, except when I look back on it, it wasn't true. They were the nuances. Do you know what I mean? The little moments that just didn't ring true to that. And the Dalai Lama said, when we are caught up in destructive emotion, we lose one of our greatest assets, our independence. Wow, that is so profound, Kerry. Kerry's saying, I don't judge others just because they sin differently. Wow, isn't that beautiful? That is so profound. I don't judge others just because they sin differently. Yeah, that is awesome. And how about, if it can be solved, there is no need to worry. And if it can't be solved, worry is of no use. Some of you, you have heard me say about the fact that, I've got some pretty serious blood tests going on at the moment, and also going to have a CAT scan. And I just refuse to worry about it because of exactly this. If there's a problem there, then let me worry then. But even then, if I've got a problem, worrying is not going to make it any better. Makes sense. Hi, Erin. Good to see you. And this one is true for a number of our viewers, and I'm sure that you will relate. Pain can change you, but that doesn't mean that it has to be a bad change. Take that pain and turn it into wisdom. I wonder, for those viewers who suffer from pain, what have you learned by living a life with pain? What yeah, I hate to say what gift did it bring you, but I need to ask that question, because it is my belief that for those people who suffer from pain, that they are given a gift in exchange. It was really interesting. So, somebody was talking about the bruising that I got on my hands because I had blood tests and they didn't go well. And they were saying, gosh, it's so painful to have blood taken from your hands. Why do you do that? And I was saying, because I know the pain and I understand it will be painful, but I know the pain. And if I need to flinch, I flinch. I'm certain that some of you who know pain understand what I'm talking about. I won't flinch the hand that they put the needle in. I will flinch, a leg will raise up, or at my other hand. I don't move this hand. I know it's critical that they hit the vein right. And so the pain in that moment, to me is very small compared to the alternative I have if they try and take blood elsewhere. Yeah, Kerry's saying she's been broken so many times by circumstances out of her control. But I don't let the hurt harden you. Yeah, yes, there is a difference, Kerry. What a great comment that is. Yes, there is a difference between letting it go and letting it harden you. Yes, that's a great subject. Hang on a second. Let me see what Beth says. Pain showed me how to feel what I hid for so long. But I love my pain because it showed me how to move on and know when I need to change my life. Pain changed me for the good. Yeah, Beth, I'm realizing now that my pain forces me to slow down and to live at a different pace. And I don't like it. It's frustrating for me because I would prefer to be able to do a lot more. But I do realize that in that moment of understanding, I go, I think that my natural speed was way slower than I ever gave credit for. And Jody's saying, my pain has made me even more sympathetic to seeing pain in others, be it physical or emotional. Yeah. And I think this one, Jody, has your name written all over it. Remember that the best relationship is one in which your love for each other exceeds your need for each other. And how many of you have been blessed with that one? There is a difference between needing somebody else and loving somebody else. And I go back to the Bushes. I think what we saw time and time again in the Bush family, both senior and junior, was the ability to laugh and not take themselves too seriously, but also that love conquered everything. And that disrespect of one another, I don't think was allowed. Wow, and listen to this great wisdom from Carrie as well. I am broken now, but I'm slowly stitching myself back together. Yeah, and sometimes you need that to happen, right? You need to tear all the bits apart and work out which ones do I want back. I don't want them all back again. I struggled too long. I always say it's like a wall of bricks coming down. You don't have to put all those bricks back up again. Some of them you can leave them on the ground. You've done enough. And Erin says you actually learn that a lot of these things in life aren't so bad, but some people would make a big deal out of it. But they're not so bad for you because you've been through some really hard stuff. Yeah, Erin. And that's why I think, I'm so delighted in my life that I got to meet you, because I don't think I would have ever understood the life that you live if I hadn't lain next to you on that bed and seen life. I hope you understand that. The reason I was lying there with you is because I wanted to see what you see, right? Because you see life from a very different perspective, right? And to me, until I lay down on that bed with you and could see the world as you see it, I had no right to even think I understood what you went through. And Erin, I am certain that you know me well enough now that, when I wake up in the morning and I am really sore and I am struggling to get out of bed, I think of you and go, yeah, what about Erin? She doesn't have the ability to get herself out of bed. So, be grateful you are in pain, but you can work past the pain and get up. So to me, you have been such a great inspiration to me on so many levels. And Beth says, I used to think I needed my husband, but since I've come out of my shell, I know I need me more than my husband. Yes. And you know what I've said to an awful lot of people that I've spoken to in my life? It sounds to me like what you really wanted was a dog, not a husband. Right? They wanted unconditional love and nobody answering them back. And I said, that would be a dog, not a husband. Right? Yes, you also used to think that you needed your daughter to be happy. But that is so not true. I'm happy and my daughter is happy just to see my happiness. Well done, Beth. You are definitely learning this very quickly. And my life is just what, Linda? Sorry, just get some more words around that for me because I want to know what you said. Carrie says, I'm pretty self-sufficient, but occasionally I just need that pat on the back and to be told I'm doing better than I thought because I'm too hard on myself. Yes, and one of the things that I've noticed as well, Carrie, is that since you've been in relationship, right, that you're not talking through stuff as much as you used to. And, maybe at some level you're paying a price for that, but that's okay. This is your life. You get to do it. All right, Linda. So you're saying my life is just that. It's my life. Yes, it is my pain and it's my challenge. I was saying that on Friday broadcast, right? We each have our struggles. Nobody who comes to these broadcasts is without pain of some sort, be it emotional or physical. We are each here because we, wish to improve at some level. And the Dalai Lama also said the period of greatest gain in knowledge and experience is the most difficult period in one's life. Yeah, as a friend of mine once said, ignorance was bliss, right? And when you start to realize that we create our own angst, that we create our own mood, when you really start to understand that at a cellular level, that's pretty frightening. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I think about how much emotion, wasted emotion, I expended on people and things. And, and I look back at it now and I go, gosh, I spent years in depression and I had absolutely no need to, right? It was just, I wanted people to be different and they weren't, and they still are not. And I just didn't know how to let that go. I for some reason. And it's different now. I don't know whether it is older or what it is. Kerry's saying, I've put up walls and quit opening up as much. but no more. I need to let it go. Yes, I think so, Kerry. I think it's, but the same thing, Kerry, as I will always say to you, do it with safe people. Don't do it with people who are going to advertise it. Good night, Trina. Good to see you, honey. Big hugs. And he also said happiness is not something that's ready-made. It comes from your own actions or lack of them. All right. How many of you have noticed that sometimes we just need not to react? Now, some of you will have seen that quote that I put up. Marnie actually put it up and I shared it, which was, sometimes we need to learn, just to sit and smile and not answer. And what I loved was, I was talking to Marnie about it, and Marnie's mum said to me, yeah, but not all the time. And I said, oh, good, because and there's no way I could keep my mouth shut all the time. And she said, no, Sal. One of the things we love about you is when things are definitely going in the wrong direction, you know how to open your mouth and say so. And she said, don't ever change that. Because she said, of all the stories I hear about you, and I've heard a lot, the number of times you have stood up to fight for other people is unbelievable. I said, well, I really need to learn how to control that part of me, because in a way, when I stand up to fight for other people, I guess I'm saying that I don't think they're capable of standing up and fighting for themselves. But thanks, Beth. But, it's like, yes, I do any of you have that trigger as well? If I see injustice, if I see somebody using their power in the wrong way, if I see somebody using their whatever in the wrong way, I get really upset, and I will call it for what it is. And, your value to me, when I say your value to me, but, if you're my friend or whatever, your value to me has nothing to do with how much you earn, what your position is in life, how many times you call me in a week. It has nothing to do with your position in my life. One of the things I was discussing yesterday was, it's interesting that the people that I am really close to in lots of different ways, I really don't have a lot of contact with. But I know in my heart of hearts that the brown sticky stuff comes into my life, they are there. You know what I mean? I know I can trust them. That is interesting. Erin's saying, thank you. I do understand that there's something very different and very loving about the people who have that natural instinct to lay on my bed with me. Not many people will do that. Oh, Erin. My question to myself would be, if I cannot lie there with you, how can I understand your point of view? Remember, I asked you some very personal questions that day, in between all the laughter. But, to me, I don't want to presume I understand what your life is like. I really was seeking more than you can imagine. I was seeking at some very deep level, Erin. It's like, what food are you eating? What are you drinking that you can cope with this level of pain and inability and be such an incredible spirit? And, I couldn't help thinking that part of it, having met your daddy, I went, well, I can see some of it. But I can also imagine that he was a hard taskmaster for you, and with love, that he wanted to see you do your best. Kerry, I'm delighted to hear you're feeling a bit calmer. That's great to hear. Yeah, and you see, Erin, that's the whole thing, as Linda says, you bring a smile to many people. And yet you have more pain and more difficulty than many people. And, for that, I am so eternally grateful. I sometimes sit there and I go, I don't know if you guys do that. I wonder why certain people came into my life. How come Marnie, who is nearly half my age, turned out to be one of my best friends of all time? How is that possible, right? Or, I look at the people that came into my life that I thought were my best friends forever and, gone. It's just like you really don't know until you've been through the good, the bad, and the ugly. And he also said, everybody wants a happy life without difficulties or suffering. We create many of the problems we face. I was talking about that, right? No one intentionally creates problems, but we tend to be slaves to powerful emotions like anger, hatred, and attachment that are based on misconceived projections about people and things. We need to find ways of reducing those emotions by eliminating the ignorance that underlies them and by applying opposing forces. One of the discussions that I had yesterday with Marnie was, she was asking me, how did I just manage to let go of Sunshine Cottage that I thought I was going to buy, Cedar Cottage that I thought I was going to buy? How did I just manage to let them go when I was so invested for a while? And I said, because I truly believe that wherever I end up, it will be home. Right? I don't believe that there is one place that I can call home. I believe that wherever I am will be home. I wonder if that makes sense to anybody. And therefore, I don't need to worry about letting it go, because it's not the end of my world. It is just a different place. I don't think my home defines me. It is what I make of my home that defines me. I wonder if that's making any sense. Kerry's saying, I've been dragging through the loss of my voice. It keeps breaking and cracking and in odd spots. And I guess I'm internalizing my frustration too much. Yeah, Kerry, what I would recommend is understand just how sexy that sounds. I always used to say to people, yeah, I'm sorry, I've got laryngitis right now, but I don't normally sound this sexy. And I used to laugh about it. And you understand, Kerry, that for a lot of my life, my income depended on my ability to be able to be heard. I was a professional speaker. So laryngitis to me was not a small thing. It was a major thing in my life. Yeah, Linda, I am not particularly worried about, you say, because I know what I want is a home and I'll find it. I don't require a lot, but in a way I do, right? I do like to have certain things in my home. One of them being light. Because I know of my tendency to get depressed is determined by the fact that I don't do a lack of sunlight very well, or light in general. So wherever I go, I definitely look for, do I have enough windows? So for example, if I end up in an apartment, I will do everything I can to get a corner apartment rather than one that's in the center, because I want as many windows in as many places as possible. And so, when you look at these things, I think when I can let go of things more easily than I used to, I wonder whether that's with age. It was interesting. I was talking to Jody earlier today about the fact that I've been suffering from unbelievable allergies. Yesterday when I was out, my eyes were streaming absolutely nonstop. It looked like I was really upset. And I had to keep saying, I'm absolutely fine. I'm crying because of allergies, and I have taken some medication. And then Jody made a point, which I hadn't really thought of, which was, had Clarence, my cleaning robot, had Clarence kicked up enough dust that, had created this extra allergy problem for me. And then because of what Jody said, I realized I had been down in the garage and opened up nine very dusty boxes from my garage, trying to find Christmas ornaments. How much dust got into my system just doing that? And there's part of me saying, I think I may need to take Clarence downstairs and clear up some dust downstairs so that when I go into the garage, I'm not breathing in as much dust. In other words, go down there with a mask on and dust the whole place out. Give it a day to settle, and then take Clarence down there and clean the floor, what floor I can get to. I might just do that, just to get the worst of it down at a floor level. But it was an interesting point, Jody, and I thank you for thinking of it. There are only 2 days in the year that nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, and the other is called tomorrow. Today is the right day to love, believe, do, and mostly live. Today is the right day to love, to believe, to do, and mostly to live. Don't put off until tomorrow what fun you can have today. I think, again, I really got a sense that, George Bush Sr. lived life every day, all right? He didn't let his age determine how much fun he had. A disciplined mind leads to happiness, and an undisciplined mind leads to suffering. All right, now, for those of you who were with us on the Friday night broadcast, how many of you have found that us starting to focus in on the timeline to Christmas has helped you this year? That getting a little bit disciplined about, those international cards need to be gone by the end of November. And now this first week of December, the cards to Canada or the cards to the US, if you're in Canada, they need to go. Or if you're in Europe, the cards to Europe. Have any of you noticed that you are doing a little bit better because we're actually talking about those timelines and trying to keep to them? I'm actually amazed how far ahead I am on other things, because even though I am concentrating on this, I'm still doing other things Christmas-wise as well. And I really must say, this is surprising for me that I'm this far ahead. And I'm finding it is the season to be more jolly because of that. And by the way, having my 2 miniature mince pies every night makes life very fun. All right, now you see, Linda, I wonder whether we actually do hate Christmas, or whether what we hate is something else around it, the stress of it, the commercialism around it. What is it that you hate about Christmas? Or, for some of us, it's the lack of money. If I had more money, I would enjoy it more because I could do things more. And yet, it was really funny for me how many, that this was probably the most difficult Christmas for me in terms of finances. And yet, in a way, I have done more with less. Yeah. So that's what I looked at the beginning of this whole period, Linda, was what is it that I didn't like about Christmas? Linda's saying her birthday is Christmas Eve, and she's sick of the same old songs each year. Really? Yeah, and you can't get away from them. So, yeah, it's interesting. Yvonne's birthday is on Christmas Day. She shares a very precious birthday. So I think it's very difficult if you get born on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day, any time within that time frame. It's a very difficult sort of space in which to have a birthday, I think. The same songs for 50 years, yeah. And if you think about it, if you go to church every Sunday, you're singing the same songs that have been around for goodness knows how long. So they're not going to change, Linda. The trick is go back to singing with them. That would be my recommendation. And I'm very grateful that I can still hear them. You know what I mean? Sort of, because, I've got hearing loss. So for me, I'm actually quite grateful that I can still hear them. Your goal is not to be better than the other man or woman, but your previous self. How many of you feel that you have improved your previous self over this year? Even if it's been difficult, even if you've struggled to get over some characteristics or new learning, how many of you feel that you are a better person than you were a year ago? Because I think that is everyone's goal, to be able to say that. I feel I've learned enough and to be a better person than I was last year. Hard times build determination and inner strength. That's what Beth was saying, right? Through them, we can also come to appreciate the uselessness of anger. Instead of getting angry, nurture a deep caring and respect for the troublemakers, because by creating such trying circumstances, they provide us with invaluable opportunities to practice tolerance and patience. How many would love those two gifts under the Christmas tree? More tolerance and patience. And I think some of the best advice I ever got came from a chiropractor once. And I was very frustrated about something. And he said to me, Sal, one day you're going to learn something that will be invaluable to you. And I said, which would be what? And he said that if you give to others that you wish from others, your life will be happy. And I said, what? He said, whatever it is that you're frustrated about, whatever it is that you, in whatever way you want other people to change, turn the mirror, look at yourself, and give to others what you wish they gave to you, without expectation of return. That is the problem for a lot of us. We want to do good things, but we expect other people to do good things back. And when they don't, we are sorely disappointed. The planet does not need more successful people. The planet desperately needs more peacemakers, healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of all kinds. How many of you totally can feel that one? The planet doesn't need more successful people. The planet desperately needs more peacemakers, more healers, restorers, storytellers, and lovers of all kinds. I don't know for the rest of you. Yeah, Kerry's saying she is a better person than she was a year ago. Yeah. Whatever better is very subjective. The topic of compassion is not at all a religious business. It is important to know it is human business. It is a question of human survival. Your ability to have compassion determines our ability to survive. When reason ends, then anger begins. Therefore, anger is a sign of weakness. Yikes. How about that one? How many of you are proud of yourself when you get angry? You go, oh, goody, goody, I got angry. Right. Don't ever mistake my silence for ignorance, my calmness for acceptance, or my kindness for weakness. Compassion and tolerance are not signs of weakness, but of great strength. Yikes. Compassion and tolerance are not a sign of weakness, but of great strength. So let us all pray on that this week. And happiness doesn't always come from a pursuit. Sometimes it comes when we least expect it. And I love this one. It's like, give the ones you love the wings to fly, the roots to come back, and the reasons to stay. Isn't that beautiful? So as we move on to this week, I want to give you all a really big hug and ask you to be kinder to yourself this week. Oh, sure. Hang on a second. Linda, give the ones you love the wings to fly, the roots to come back, and the reasons to stay. In other words, what true love is that I do not control you. In terms of our children, I think O'Brien said that, our job with children is to give them the wings to fly, that is their job. But, to let them know they've always got a home. Now, some people will say, I don't want them to stay any longer. Thank you. And maybe the best one for us to finish this on is what he said, which is choose to be optimistic. Choose to be optimistic. It feels better. Why would we choose to be worrying about something that we don't know yet? Why would we make that choice? Because, what do we gain by it? Jody, I am absolutely stunned at the progress you have made just in your sleeping alone over the last month. I'm not sure what it was that was different. Was it that you changed the food? I'm not sure what it was that created that. But I look that you are beating my sleep pattern now. And I think that is incredible with all that you struggle with. And so at some level, you have made a shift for which you need to be really very proud. I just keep going, wow, I look at it. Yeah. Beth saying her store manager's grandmother came into the shop and she said, are you the Beth that my granddaughter talks about all the time? She said you're the best employee she's ever had. It made your day better. But you know something, Beth? It's when you know that about yourself and that you can say that about yourself that's a whole different thing, right? And so I look at it and go, be easier with yourself this year, this week, this Christmas time. Do less, not more. Understand that the value of the gift isn't necessarily the value of the gift. You know what I mean? Don't try and buy love. It doesn't work. Just let everybody know that you care. I drove for nearly an hour and a half to go and visit a friend. That in itself is a gift. Right now, I took some small gifts with me because I will not see them again before Christmas. Yes, Linda, in a nutshell, that's what happiness is about. Linda's saying, so we need to work on how to better ourselves. Yes, the only way we get to be happy is not that the world changes. We need to. We need to control what frustrates us. We need to control what makes us angry. And we need to understand that everybody in the room, everybody on the broadcast is struggling at some level with these things. It's not you alone. It's like we're all working towards it. And it's interesting because we all have lessons to teach each other. I keep thinking about the lessons I've learned from Erin or Beth, the lessons I've learned from Beth since I've been here, or from Jody, or from Lauren, and I look at it and I go, each of you in sharing your stories makes me a better person. And for that, I thank you. Control. Yeah, it's difficult, this whole control issue. I think that when we can see how much we really want to control a world that we cannot, we understand why we get so frustrated and annoyed. And so that is part of learning peace, is to learn that you cannot control everybody, nor should you want to. Everybody is learning at their speed, and that is part of it. Yes, Beth, when you can learn from everybody that you meet every day, either what you like the look of or what you don't like the look of, then you actually live a much happier life. Now, nobody's asked me what's for dinner. Tonight on the menu, I have cooked barbecued spare ribs in the slow cooker, and I will be doing a rice pilaf with it, and some creamed corn. For a change, I haven't had creamed corn for a long time. So how many of you know that my fingers are going to be very sticky? So it's going to be a meal that I need to eat out of my bedroom. Because, I'm inclined to eat a lot of my food sitting on my bed. And the other thing is I have to be careful even in the living room, because as you probably know, if you can hear, my dining room chairs are all padded white. Well, they're sort of a cream. So I need to keep my sticky fingers away from my furniture. So that's it. Beth's saying, I learned that I go backwards when I'm with my sister. It's like I'm a little girl again, doubting my every move. I limit my interactions with her for my own sanity. Yes, for your own peace of mind. And that's controlling your own environment. You're doing what you need to do to stay at peace, Beth. I thought what you said about not making your daughter happy was wonderful. When you realize the only person that can make your daughter happy is your daughter. And that is great, great learning. So everybody, I wish you all a wonderful week. Remember to stay focused on Christmas if that's what you're trying to enjoy. If you don't spend some focused time on doing the next step. My next step this week is to finish the tree, except I quite like it the way that it is. Maybe less is more this year. Don't overdo anything. I found I had to have that little word with Jody, who was busy trying to, do all these incredible recipes and things. And I'm going, why do we do that to ourselves? Why don't we do what works, and enjoy it? I'm definitely going to be doing, my goal for this week in terms of the baking is to do the chocolate covered marshmallows this week. And so that's my one step forward. I've done the shortbread dough, that's done. So the marshmallows can be done and packed into boxes. Yeah, Linda's saying, okay, it's a good week now. I know what Sal's having for dinner. And, I am delighted to have found the Black Diamond chia seed crackers, because they are really very tasty. Hey, and by the way, Jody managed to get some as well, and she agrees with me. Whoever thought I would find healthy crackers? Yeah. Remember to drink water before each meal. There was a question I had for you, Beth. Oh, yes. On the fitness channel, you put up some smoothies, and I'm going, I thought you were not okay with smoothies because it was better for us to eat the ingredients and have our stomachs be the blender. So I went, okay, now I'm confused. Anyway, let's have that discussion maybe during the week. All right, everybody, I need to go. I wish you all a peaceful week, and we will be at peace when we are on track. Right? Please, please, please stay on track. Stay focused. Only you determine where you spend your time. Right? Only you determine whether you waste a lot of time worrying instead of, getting Christmas presents ready. Only you determine whether you want to sit around and watch, binge watch, right, instead of doing the next thing. Yes, Linda's saying, my GP said rather a smoothie than not. Yes, it's better to have a healthy smoothie than not have one at all, right, and not eat the good stuff. I must admit that I had stopped eating oatmeal for a couple of weeks, and I really do feel that I need to go back to eating it, even if it's not that good for me. I think it is, I need the fiber, and it's an easy way to take the fiber in. All right, everybody. So I want to give you all a big hug. We will speak to you on Friday, hopefully, if everything is well. Understand that the Friday after that, Friday, Saturday, there will be no broadcast that weekend of December because I will be at December and traveling and things. And so I will not be doing any broadcasts at all for that weekend. So I just want to give you all a heads up. And have a wonderful week. Remember to look after one another, but please, please, please look after yourself. And the best way to look after yourself at this time of the year is to keep on track with what it is you're trying to do. This is DearMamaSal saying, thank you for being here, and bye-bye for now. Bye.